DuckTales Season 2, Episode 17. Whatever happened to Donald Duck? He's on the moon. Question answered. Episode over.
He's a lunatic.
Well, and you knew as soon as they said, no human, no living creature could survive being shot through that. It's like they're gonna put Donald in that, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
It's like, yeah, they're gonna put that. They're gonna put Donald in there, just to torture him because Donald is meant to suffer
with everything.
Yeah, and we found out he has a therapist, which makes you wonder what he would be like if he didn't have a therapist.
Right?
Like,
and how was he such an amazing adventurer before with that freaking temper of his?
Maybe the temper helped him being an adventurer.
Well, I mean, it does help him.
Well, if you're fighting ninjas, it's not a big deal. But if you're dealing with 3 growing children, keeping your temper is probably a good thing. And that's probably why when he started doing the therapy was to try and keep him from losing his cool around the,
Well, he did, Jones did say he wanted to be the best parent he could be.
Yeah.
And that's why he tried to learn to focus that anger and aggression
in a healthy way or something. But yeah, it's like, okay. Yeah, and the fact that he said, because the world literally can't understand him. Or something like that. It's like, yeah. And why did he bother clamping his mouth shut?
He said death to the moon.
Yeah.
He's like, what did he say? He said death to the moon.
Yeah, I mean, why'd you bother clamping his mouth shut? Like,
nobody would understand him.
Nobody understands him anyway. But yeah. And so the the fact that at the end Scrooge is like, he'll be gone another month. Like,
yeah.
Okay, so the invasion's not happening for a few more episodes, essentially, until Donald finds his way out of the wreckage, makes his way back to Scrooge and says, "Hey, the moon's gonna be invading."
After trying to explain that to them like 5 times because nobody can understand him.
Yeah, ends up writing it down. It's like, or it could be like, or funnier would be if Della could just understand him. Like, she's been around him so long that she's the only one that just understands.
You know what I find funny? In the Christmas episode, we hear him as a teenager speaking coherently.
Huh?
He was a teenager. Yeah. He was speaking coherently.
Something traumatic must have happened to him.
Well, he was adventuring, so maybe his larynx got injured, and that led to a speech impediment.
Or no, I know.
He broke his tongue.
Something made him like just so angry, he just blew out his voice box just screaming.
Possibly. I mean, his voice already had that cry, though. That, like...
Yeah.
Maybe he was so hot-headed he had an aneurysm.
Possibly. It also seems interesting to me that the sort of leader there of the moon people,
Lunaris.
Yeah, Lunaris. Like, okay, so you don't seem like it doesn't seem like there's a lot of moon people. It's like, have you done a sort of population sort of ballpark check on what you're doing here? I mean, yeah, you've got advanced weapons, but advanced weapons don't really mean a lot if you're outnumbered like 1,000,000,000 to 1.
Also, um, the fact that most of their weapons are made of gold.
Yeah,
Gold is
and
a very weak metal.
it's very soft compared to something like steel. It's like you get hit once with a steel weapon and the gold weapon just bends. And on top of all that, one of the interesting things is they're on the moon, so gravity is lower. Okay,
When they get to Earth, it'll be like they weigh twice as much.
I think it's something like 3 times as much. I'd have to check it. It's not. That might be
Yeah,
Mars.
I
That's
don't know either, but it's a lot.
yeah. It's a lot. 1 second. Gravity. Assuming their moon is similar to our moon. Um,
And it's
16.6% that on of Earth's surface.
it's what?
16.6. So about so that's what, like a sixth. So they're going to feel 6 times heavier, and they're holding on to, you know, gold weapons, solid gold weapons on top of that. They're
Well,
going to get to Earth and just fall over.
not only that, but solid gold weapons, maybe on the moon where there isn't as much pressure, but when they get to Earth, they're holding them up and suddenly the things would just like warp. I mean,
Yeah,
think about it. On the
I'm
moon,
not
there
sure.
isn't
Yeah, I'm
enough
not sure
gravity.
that would whether the gold would actually bend under Earth's gravity. I'd have to look at, like certain, there's mathematics to that, but I don't know that it would.
Yeah.
But it also is a cartoon, so that would be funny. Like they get to Earth, they pull out their sword, and it just bends. It goes from the scimitar to a just like a droopy thing. It's like,
Not to mention the chance of their ships melting and re-entry.
Yeah, that's another thing.
well, given that Donald made it through, uh, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, but that's Donald. Even if the ship did melt, he'd just be like sitting there covered in gold until somebody cracks him out of it.
But yeah, and they definitely won't be able. I don't think they'll be able to take back off from Earth in a gold spaceship. It's like they get to Earth and it's just. I don't know what their propulsion's like, but getting off the moon's gonna be a lot easier than getting off of Earth. So once they get into Earth's gravity well, and they can't keep the rocket up in the air, they have to it just gradually gets pulled, despite them throwing all the propulsion downward, it's just getting pulled and pulled and pulled until it eventually just lands on the ground, and it's like, why aren't our ships flying? It's like, this doesn't make any sense. Why aren't our ships flying? We have the propulsion to pull. Gravity's different.
Why is this armor so heavy all of a sudden?
Yeah, the armor's gonna be ludicrously heavy. They have to ditch the armor just to be able to walk around. you know, and by that point, like, you see Gizmo Duck and Darkwing show up, and they take out all the moon. They capture all the moon people, the moon soldiers, in like 10 seconds. It's like they're all passed out on the floor. They just wrap them up in rope and just like, okay.
There's a really good sci-fi series on Amazon Prime called The Expanse, And they actually use that as punishment because one of the things is people born on one of the colony planet, either on Mars or on one of the asteroid colonies or whatever, their bone structure is not suited for Earth because they are raised in a lower gravity. So one of the tortures they do is they come
Just
to
take them
Earth
to Earth.
and they literally just hang them so their own body just like crushes them. Because
Meanwhile,
they cannot
those
handle
born on Earth are so well suited to it that they just, when they get to space, they just start slapping people around that they would seem like super soldiers. It's like, oh, they're an Earth.
Mars,
it's an Earth's troop. Oh, we're on Mars, and
except
that's an Earth troop.
Except for Mars, because even though they are in a lower gravity,
Yeah, it's not
they
enough.
are they're all Marines. They're a military colony, so they're trained under Earth gravity. So they're already, brought up training under that level of gravity. So they're strong enough to withstand Earth's gravity.
But yeah,
military or not.
Wonder if their ships have sweet spots.
No, because they utilize a more scientifically accurate form of gravity.
Okay.
They use propulsion to create gravity. So their ships are not like saucers. Their ships are more like towers. So going forward at 1G gives them the gravity.
Well, but the problem with that is that's not really that sustainable, because if you accelerate at 1G, you have to constantly, and you want to keep that 1G, you have to constantly accelerate at 1G, which means after 10 seconds, you're already going 98 meters per second. After 100 seconds, you're going, you're going at 980 meters per second. It's like you would quickly get really fast, really quick.
And they do also certain stations and stuff obviously have their own gravity, but they also have this really big one that has uses centrifugal.
Yeah, that's okay. That's a little more. That's a little more reasonable. The spinning version is a little more reasonable. But yeah, I don't know why, but I always thought that was a fun thing in Enterprise. There's like, yeah, the sweet spot. You can hang upside down. What? Yeah, just sit on the ceiling. It's like, what are you doing there? But it always makes me wonder, like, if later Federation starships had a sweet spot as well. If they eliminated that, or if they all have one, it's just a matter of, who actually goes up there. And it'd be interesting to put like a 10 forward style club in there. Like, just like, oh yeah, we're on the ceiling here. But anyway. Probably couldn't see out though, so wouldn't be as nice.
And there is our Star Trek tangent for the day.
Yep.
This does.
But yeah, it's nice to see that Penny's like, it's like, I don't really think this is a good idea, so let's sabotage this.
I love I'm Della's friend. Okay, it's not really friend, okay? Like, we just were more of a weird odd couple roommates thing, I think she said, but we weren't friends.
Yeah. But fun little episode.
Yeah. Glenn Gold's they're like, wait, the moon has gold, I can win.
And it's interesting to see that the Glomgold, I think, was also on his Lunaris's list of those to take out. It's like, oh yeah, Glomgold too.
Yeah, what's he gonna do? Not really the most threatening person.
He might accidentally, while trying to do things for his own selfish reason, ends up doing things that are good by accident, and thus accidentally succeeds. Because he can't win if he's being bad, but if he's being selfish, but he's also doing it in a way that helps good, he might actually succeed at something. It's like blunder into succeeding. But well, anything else?
No.
Nope.
Did we?
That's not more.